Conference proposal. Belarus's emerging leadership in genocide education. Institutional developments. In July 2025, Belarus signed a landmark agreement to establish the Belarusian Museum of the Holocaust and Resistance in Novogrudok, a town with deep historical significance for Jewish resistance during World War II. This museum will be the first of its kind in Belarus, filling a critical gap in Holocaust commemoration and education. Educational innovations. Belarusian educators and heritage experts have developed grassroots Holocaust education programs, often under challenging political conditions. These programs emphasize survivor testimony and local history, Jewish resistance movements, e.g. the Bielski partisans, integration of Holocaust narratives into broader World War II education. How Belarus can help U.S. states. 1. Curriculum collaboration. Belarusian institutions can share localized, resistance-focused Holocaust curricula that highlight underrepresented Eastern European narratives. U.S. states could integrate these into existing genocide studies to broaden historical scope and deepen student engagement. 2. Museum partnerships. The Museum of Jewish Resistance in Novogrudok could partner with U.S. Holocaust museums and education centers to host virtual exhibits, exchange archival materials, develop joint teacher training programs. 3. Teacher training models. Belarus's use of semi-structured interviews and thick description pedagogy offers a model for reflective, narrative-based teacher education. U.S. states could adapt this approach to train educators in handling sensitive topics like anti-Semitism and genocide with nuance and empathy. 4. Digital storytelling and testimony. Belarusian educators have emphasized digital access to survivor stories, which aligns with U.S. efforts like the Shoah Foundation. Collaborative platforms could amplify these stories across borders, enriching global Holocaust education. Considerations for U.S. adoption. Belarus's political climate poses challenges to transparency and academic freedom, so U.S. states must vet partnerships carefully. Focus should remain on educational content and historical accuracy, not political endorsement. 5 areas of Belarusian support for U.S. schools through the Belarus World Affairs Council of Austin Curriculum Initiative. 1. Museum of Jewish Resistance in Novogrudok, model for grassroots remembrance and resistance education. This museum commemorates the Bielski partisans and other Jewish resistance fighters who defied Nazi occupation. U.S. schools can integrate virtual tours and digital exhibits into history and social studies curricula. Use the museum's pedagogical model to teach local resistance, moral courage, and community survival. Host joint webinars with Belarusian educators and curators. The Two Escape Story, the tunnel symbol of survival, ingenuity, and hope. In Novogrudok, Jewish prisoners dug a tunnel by hand to escape a Nazi labor camp, one of the most daring escapes of the Holocaust. This story can be used to teach resilience and resistance under oppression, inspire student-led projects on historical escape narratives, connect engineering, ethics, and history in interdisciplinary lessons. 3. Kushner Family Resistance Story. Personal narrative of escape and survival. The Kushner family's escape from Belarus during the Holocaust offers a deeply personal lens into Jewish resistance. Schools can use survivor testimony to humanize historical events, encourage students to explore family histories and oral storytelling, compare individual narratives with broader historical movements. 4. Belarusian prosecution of Nazi war criminals, legal commitment. No statute of limitations on genocide. Belarus continues to pursue justice for Holocaust crimes, reinforcing the principle that genocide is timeless in accountability. This can inform civics and law classes on international justice and human rights, debates on moral responsibility, historical memory, and transitional justice, lessons on the evolution of genocide law and global legal frameworks. 5. English language resources via World Affairs Council of Austin, accessible curriculum tools for U.S. educators. The Council facilitates access to Belarusian materials translated into English, including survivor interviews, resistance history modules, teacher training guides. Invited presenters and working agenda. Education Against Hate, Memory for Justice, December 9, 2025. Start time 9 a.m. CST. Hosted by Belarus World Affairs Council of Austin Anti-Semitism Awareness Project. Summit Director Michael Cunningham. Summit Gem Session title, CST, 9 a.m. opening ceremony and 9:30 welcome. AM 9:30 a.m. keynote address, 10:15 Education as Resistance. AM 10:15 Panel I, Belarusian AM, Resistance and Holocaust. 11 Memory, AM 11 Break. AM 11:15 AM 11:15 Panel 2, Legislative AM, Leadership in 12 Anti-Semitism Awareness. PM 12 Educator Exchange. PM Belarus-U.S. Curriculum Collaboration Description. Remarks by Michael Cunningham. Summit Overview. Moment of Reflection. Dr. Deborah Lipstadt on Global Antisemitism and the Moral Role of Educators. Dr. Natalia Ivanova, Eli Kushner, Pavel Shidlovsky on Novogrudok, The Tunnel and Survivor Legacy. Repater Terry Leo Wilson, Repem's Rebecca Kislak, RI, moderated by Ben Ramirez, Kate Means, Arkansas and Montana DOE leaders, Belarusian educators, 12:45 lunch break, PM 1:45 p.m., 1:45 p.m. workshop, Survivor, 2:30. Testimony in the PM classroom. 2:30 p.m., Panel 3, Genocide, 3:15. Education in State, PM curriculum, 3:15 p.m. Spotlight session, The 4, Tunnel Escape Story, PM 4 p.m. break, 4:15. 4:15 p.m. roundtable, building a 5 National Framework for PM Anti-Semitism Awareness, 5 p.m. closing reflections, and 5:30 call to action, PM networking rooms open, virtual exhibits available. Ilana Cohn-Kennedy, Holocaust Center for Humanity, with digital storytelling demo, education leaders from Washington, Texas, Arkansas, and Montana. Eli Kushner shares his family's legacy. Student Kwanda, open dialogue moderated by Michael Cunningham. Final remarks, summit outcomes, next steps for pilot programs and legislative engagement. Additional features, Digital Resource Hub, launch Belarusian English curriculum materials, survivor archives, educator guides, virtual exhibits, Museum of Jewish Resistance, Novogrudok, U.S., Holocaust Memorial Museum, student projects, networking rooms, open throughout the day for educators, policymakers, and international partners. Human Rights Anti-Semitism Video Conference, December 9, 2025. Introduction: Why this conference matters. In an era marked by rising anti-Semitism and fading historical memory, this conference stands as a vital call to action. We gather not only to confront the urgent need for comprehensive genocide education across U.S. schools, but to forge a bold international alliance rooted in truth, resilience, and remembrance. By spotlighting Belarus's emerging leadership in Holocaust education, particularly its grassroots efforts and the Museum of Jewish Resistance in Novogrudok, we open a new chapter in cross-cultural collaboration. This is more than an academic exchange. It's a movement to equip educators with the tools to foster inclusive, historically grounded learning environments that empower the next generation to stand against hate. Participants will gain access to pioneering curriculum resources, survivor testimonies, and international training modules. They'll help shape state-level policy, build global partnerships, and amplify voices that history must never forget. Your presence here is not just valuable, it's essential. Together, we can transform education into a force for justice, memory, and hope. Target audience: 1. K-12 educators and school administrators, teachers of history, social studies, civics, and literature, principals, curriculum coordinators, and district leaders, school counselors, and diversity inclusion officers. 2. Higher education faculty and institutions, professors in Holocaust studies, history, sociology, and education, university departments focused on human rights, genocide studies, or international relations, teacher preparation programs, and education colleges. 3. State and local policymakers, legislators and education committee members, state boards of education and curriculum standards councils, policy advisors working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. 4. Museum professionals and cultural institutions, Holocaust museums, genocide memorials, and historical societies, exhibit designers, archivists, and education outreach coordinators, institutions interested in virtual collaboration and curriculum sharing. 5. Jewish community organizations and advocacy groups, Anti-Defamation League, ADL, Jewish federations, and local synagogues, youth leadership programs and interfaith coalitions, organizations focused on anti-Semitism prevention and Holocaust remembrance. International partners and educators from Belarus, Belarusian museum curators and Holocaust educators, cultural diplomats and academic exchange coordinators, NGOs focused on historical preservation and cross-cultural education. Ideal participants: educators seeking new tools to teach genocide, resistance, and anti-Semitism with historical depth and global context. Policymakers are ready to champion legislation that mandates anti-Semitism awareness training in schools. Museum leaders and archivists interested in digital storytelling and international exhibit collaboration. Community advocates are committed to preserving memory and combating hate through education. Students and youth leaders who want to engage in meaningful dialogue and become ambassadors of historical truth. World Affairs Council of Austin Teacher Development Anti-Semitism Texas Montana World Affairs Council of Austin Washington World Affairs Council of Austin Teacher Professional 1-Day Training Anti-Semitism and Genocide Awareness 6-Hour Professional Development Agenda Egicide, Genocide, and Anti-Semitism Awareness Training for Arkansas Teachers. We're kicking off an Interdeo Conference on Human Rights, Anti-Semitism, and Genocide Awareness with a wonderful display of resources and materials available for your teachers to instruct them on anti-Semitism and genocide awareness. Over the past year, many states have passed legislation requiring students in that state to receive instruction in anti-Semitism and awareness and genocide awareness. Arkansas. As of 2025, the Arkansas Department of Education, ADE, has implemented new guidance stemming from Senate Bill 352, which addresses anti-Semitism in public education. Here's what teachers and school districts need to know. Key requirements for anti-Semitism training definition. Used: ADE adopts the IARA, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, definition of anti-Semitism, which includes both traditional and contemporary forms such as denial of Jewish identity or delegitimization of Israel. Training encouraged, not mandated. Schools are encouraged to incorporate anti-Semitism awareness training for teachers and school staff, administrators, campus police, students. The training may be delivered through Arkansas Ideas, approved providers, or district-led sessions. Professional development hours. Teachers must complete 36 hours of professional development annually, which may include anti-Semitism awareness if districts choose to integrate it. Districts have flexibility to tailor PD content, but ADE monitors compliance with required topics. Monitoring and oversight. ADE will designate a Title VI coordinator to oversee anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment complaints. The legislature may conduct investigations into schools that fail to address such complaints adequately. Texas anti-Semitism training requirements for teachers. 1. Definition. Adoption. Texas officially adopted the IHRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, definition of anti-Semitism into the state education code for grades K-16. This definition guides how schools evaluate incidents and disciplinary actions related to anti-Semitic behavior. 2. Training integration. While not yet mandatory statewide, anti-Semitism awareness training is strongly encouraged as part of professional development. Districts may incorporate it into broader training modules on diversity and inclusion, bullying and harassment prevention, Holocaust education. 3. Holocaust Remembrance Week, HRW. Under SB 1828, all Texas public schools must observe Holocaust Remembrance Week during the week of January 27th. Teachers are expected to deliver age-appropriate instruction using THC-approved materials. These resources often include content on anti-Semitism, its historical roots, and modern manifestations. 4. Local control and flexibility. Each school district determines which THC resources to use, how to integrate anti-Semitism awareness into PD hours, the length and format of instruction during HRW. 5. Support and resources. THC provides online training modules, curriculum guides, age-specific lesson plans, best practices for confronting anti-Semitism in classrooms. Montana legislative context, HB 779, 2025. House Bill 779, introduced in early 2025, proposes adopting the IA definition of anti-Semitism into Montana's discrimination laws. While the bill focuses on enhancing tools for investigation and enforcement, it does not explicitly require anti-Semitism training for educators. The bill empowers the Department of Labor and Industry to evaluate anti-Semitic incidents which may influence future education policy. Montana OPI Guidance 2025. The Montana OPI oversees professional development standards, but currently does not list anti-Semitism awareness as a required PD topic. Teachers must complete renewal units for licensure, and districts have flexibility to include training on diversity and inclusion, bullying and harassment, cultural competency. These broader categories may include anti-Semitism content if districts choose to incorporate it. Voluntary resources available. The Anti-Defamation League, ADL, Mountain States region offers free training modules and curriculum resources for Montana educators. Anti-Semitism 101 for the workplace, a 45-minute module for staff and administrators. Words to Action, workshops for middle, high school, and college students. Anti-Semitism on campus, a self-paced module for student communities. Educators and districts can access these tools to proactively address anti-Semitism even in the absence of a formal state mandate. Washington, OSPI Guidance on Anti-Semitism Education. Washington's approach is outlined in the document Combating Anti-Semitism Through Education, which provides definition of anti-Semitism. OSPI uses the IRA definition, describing anti-Semitism as a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews and includes both rhetorical and physical manifestations. Legal framework. Schools must comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which protects Jewish students from discrimination based on shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics. Districts are expected to respond promptly to anti-Semitic harassment or hostile environments. Training for educators. While not mandatory, OSPI encourages districts to integrate anti-Semitism awareness into professional development programs, use culturally responsive teaching practices that include Jewish identity and history, promote Holocaust education and awareness of contemporary anti-Semitism. Training may be embedded within broader DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, or anti-bias education. OSPI's DEI glossary and style guide also reference anti-Semitism as a key concept for educators to understand. Resources available. Educators can access lesson plans and modules from the Jewish Federation of Greater Seattle and national partners, federal guidance from the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, which outlines schools' responsibilities under Title VI. Online professional development courses are supported by UNESCO, ADL, and other organizations. Federal laws, Anti-Semitism Awareness Act of 2025, its major provisions and the potential ripple effects if it becomes law. Major points of the Act: S-558, H.R. Tel 7. Purpose: to direct the U.S. Department of Education to use the IRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism when enforcing Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in education settings. Definition. Included, anti-Semitism is defined as a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Includes contemporary examples such as denying Jewish self-determination, e.g., claiming Israel is a racist endeavor, applying double standards to Israel, comparing Israeli policy to Nazi regimes. Scope applies to K-12 schools, colleges, and universities that receive federal funding. Focuses on conduct, not speech, meaning it targets discriminatory actions, not protected political expression. Legal foundation codifies Executive Order 13899, issued in 2019, which instructed federal agencies to consider the IHRA definition when investigating anti-Semitism under Title VI. Potential impacts if passed. Positive outcomes. Clearer enforcement. Schools will have a standardized framework to assess anti-Semitic incidents. Stronger protections. Jewish students may be better shielded from harassment and discrimination. Institutional accountability. Colleges could face funding consequences for failing to address anti-Semitism. Controversies and concerns. Free speech worries. Critics argue that parts of the I definition, especially those involving criticism of Israel, could chill political discourse on campuses. Legal ambiguity. Some legal scholars warn that the bill may blur the line between protected speech and discriminatory conduct. Campus climate. Universities may face pressure to revise policies, training, and disciplinary procedures to avoid federal scrutiny. Belarus offers real solutions. Belarus's emerging leadership in genocide education institutional developments. In July 2025, Belarus signed a landmark agreement to establish the Belarusian Museum of the Holocaust and Resistance in Novogrudok, a town with deep historical significance for Jewish resistance during World War II. This museum will be the first of its kind in Belarus, filling a critical gap in Holocaust commemoration and education. Educational innovations. Belarusian educators and heritage experts have developed grassroots Holocaust education programs, often under challenging political conditions. These programs emphasize survivor testimony and local history, Jewish resistance movements, e.g., the Bielski partisans, integration of Holocaust narratives into broader World War II education. How Belarus can help U.S. states. 1. Curriculum collaboration. Belarusian institutions can share localized, resistance-focused Holocaust curricula that highlight underrepresented Eastern European narratives. U.S. states could integrate these into existing genocide studies to broaden historical scope and deepen student engagement. 2. Museum partnerships. The Museum of Jewish Resistance in Novogrudok could partner with U.S. Holocaust museums and education centers to host virtual exhibits, exchange archival materials, develop joint teacher training programs. 3. Teacher training models. Belarus's use of semi-structured interviews and thick description pedagogy offers a model for reflective, narrative-based teacher education. U.S. states could adapt this approach to train educators in handling sensitive topics like anti-Semitism and genocide with nuance and empathy. 4. Digital storytelling and testimony. Belarusian educators have emphasized digital access to survivor stories, which aligns with U.S. efforts like the Shoah Foundation. Collaborative platforms could amplify these stories across borders, enriching global Holocaust education. Considerations for U.S. adoption. Belarus's political climate poses challenges to transparency and academic freedom, so U.S. states must vet partnerships carefully. Focus should remain on educational content and historical accuracy, not political endorsement. Conference proposal. Belarus's emerging leadership in genocide education, institutional developments. In July 2025, Belarus signed a landmark agreement to establish the Belarusian Museum of the Holocaust and Resistance in Novogrudok, a town with deep historical significance for Jewish resistance during World War II. This museum will be the first of its kind in Belarus, filling a critical gap in Holocaust commemoration and education. Educational innovations. Belarusian educators and heritage experts have developed grassroots Holocaust education programs, often under challenging political conditions. These programs emphasize survivor testimony and local history, Jewish resistance movements, e.g., the Bielski partisans, integration of Holocaust narratives into broader World War II education.